All right. How you guys doing?
Is it going?
Just
Is it
groovy.
going?
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Today's been good.
So
Chat, how's it
that's
going?
what
I
I
saw you guys
hear.
already talking.
Yeah, they've been eager for us to stort.
Storted.
Get yeah. So let's get this party storted. We have here ready set data. Woo, woo. Uh, we have data engineer Anthony Fortner, DBA. I shouldn't point. Let's see here. This way. That's the DBA. Is that right? Am I pointing?
Yeah,
All right.
that's
I'm
me.
pointing. On my screen, it's reversed. So we have Lee, the DBA, and then we have O'Grady, our software engineer. So we're ready to roll. Sorry, everybody, about last week, but let's just be honest. In IT, work comes up, work happens,
Yep.
and that's what pays our bills. And our companies don't like it when things go wrong after hours. So,
Yep.
um,
Yes. Yeah,
you got
mainly
something.
prod deployments don't do them during the day. So
Yeah,
sometimes they come on Thursdays. Yeah.
that's right.
What? That that's
I
every
know it's a
every
huge
DBA's dream
revelation.
is do it in prod during the day. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's always. Yeah.
Those aren't called dreams. When you wake up sweating,
Those are
that's
nightmares.
not. Oh yeah, that's memories.
Yeah,
Exactly.
All
it's
right.
true.
So when someone comes to you and asks you to do a major deployment during the business day, you have to do something that's very difficult. You have to say no. That's not always easy to do. And so I saw some people having a chat on LinkedIn, and they're discussing no, saying no. And I thought, you know what, this would be a great topic. So here we are today. We're discussing staying no, staying, storting. We are here discussing saying no.
With Storting no.
Um, woo, we are off to a great start, peoples. All
Great
right.
start.
So yeah, it's just two letters, yet saying no can feel really hard. It can have a complicated set of emotions, even though it should be something that's simple. Um, and it can just be awkward. But I thought maybe we should talk about some of the implications or how that affects us, right? Because I mean, we tend to focus on IT stuff and we bleed out to other things. But in the IT world, a lot of times we have. I'm gonna start blunt from the beginning. We get a certain salary. We know other people don't get that salary, and there's a lot of times if you've got that raise recently or you just got the job, you want to prove yourself. And when they come up and they ask you for the world, you want to say yes, and maybe that's not the best
Hmm.
idea.
You feel like
So
obligated almost to be like, well, I have to do
Yeah.
this because you're asking. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, you'll almost have to prove your worth. But
Yep.
I'm leading with that one. Money's hard, so I figured I'll pull that one off like a band-aid, right? But
Sure.
if you've gotten the raise or you've gotten the job, it's because someone believed you deserved either one or both. Um, and if what they're asking is a bad idea or inappropriate, then you say no, like prod deployments during the day, right? Like,
Yep.
wait, it's like Lee was talking,
That's what I'm saying. No prod deployments during the day.
right?
Yes.
Um, so when some crazy person like Anthony wants to make deployments so easy that you could do them in the day, the DBA needs to put up a barrier and be like, no, 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 not my databases. Calm down, bro. You keep that over there in your C sharp and C blunt side. Okay.
Hmm.
Um,
And Chaz
uh,
brings up a good point there about, yeah, trying to be like the friend of the person because you feel like they've done so much for you, and really that might fall back to the imposter syndrome where you've done a lot for yourself, but you feel
yeah.
like this person's done so much for you, so you're like, I have to kind of do what they're asking. Like, I'll do it during the day this once, you know.
You know what? And that's a great point. So I led with money, and I said that was hard, but Mr. Shazzle there has a point. Sometimes it's hard to say no to people that you're friends with, you
Mm-hmm.
like. You say no to preserve a relationship, right? You feel that you need to.
Yep.
So and so is my friend. They want me to do something. You're like, yeah, I can do that. You might really like and respect your boss, and he wants you to stay late. and you're like, sure, I can do that, when really you probably shouldn't.
Mhm.
One point I can make is saying no is a form of self care.
Yep.
Um, yeah, there's things you got to do for yourself that maybe you forget to do because you prioritize other things over you. This is an example. If you're saying yes and it's unhealthy to say yes, then saying no would definitely be a form of self care.
Yep.
You guys been
Yeah,
asked?
sure.
You guys been asked for anything recently that you probably should have said no to or did, but you felt that pressure to say yes?
I would say
Mm,
a little bit on one of mine, yeah. So I'm going down for a business trip type thing coming up soon. And
Biggest?
there's an option for it to be in video, like just normal, like we do with everything else in our world now. They'll have a video conference option. And I felt obligated to actually go on the trip as opposed to telecommuting like I would normally would because I feel like my new company has done so much for me, like I want to give back, but at the same time, I'm learning that balance of they're doing so much for me because I'm already contributing so much to them. Like, you have to find that balance. I think that's right.
that's a good example.
Yeah.
I don't know if trying to think of a specific scenario. I mean, I can definitely relate to this topic because I don't say no a lot of times because I don't want to disappoint people. I always want to say yes and be helpful and those sorts of things. And I'm sure that we'll get there. But in terms of talking about saying no in that scenario, I don't have a specific story, but I can relate.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or does Chad have a story about that? You can always throw that in there and would like to hear about that too.
Yes, chat. We always appreciate you guys jumping in. So please keep bringing it. Especially the you first time commenters. We like to see that. Definitely like to see that.
Hmm.
Um, we don't say no to that. Yeah. So uh, work related something that happened recently. We have plenty of times. My team will get requests coming in of things that need to happen, and sometimes we have to say no for reasons that don't make sense to them at all.
Mm-hmm.
For example, hey, can you do a thing? How many times do you hear this, Sean? I want you to make a thing. I want it to be fast. I want it to be good, and then go. And you're like, I need better requirements than that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, "What? We told you what we needed. It needs to be good and fast."
Yeah.
And sometimes you
Good,
just have to
good,
put a hard
fast, and
stop.
cheap. We always say you can pick two of those.
Yeah, not all of them.
So
No, but yeah,
not all of them.
it's
No, you
just
can pick two. Yeah.
yeah, right. Um, well,
Good
we
and
had
fast.
two of
We can
them.
do that. Not gonna be
We
cheap.
had two of them, but we didn't really have the requirements, and then we said yes because we want to, for all the reasons we want
Mm-hmm.
to bring the business value. We want to build the things, want them to like us. We want to keep earning our pay, et cetera, et cetera. But
Yep.
then that backfired, and the requirements kept changing because they weren't put out in the beginning. And so we
You
just
get
had
that
to
that
eventually,
scope
oh,
creep. Yeah.
100%. And then like, oh well, now we need this, and then it totally changes. I'm sorry, I have to be vague, but it totally
Oh
changes
yeah.
the landscape of what you want, right? Like, if you're building a bridge and you say, hey, I want it to be, 2 lanes, I want it to be right in this spot. Great, and you start building, and then you find out that they need to be 4 lanes.
Mm-hmm.
You've spent a lot of time and resources building that bridge, and now you're gonna have to totally change what you want.
Yep.
When we said we wanted this city, we meant this side of the city. Well, it changes the location, right? You don't want a bridge following the river all the way down there, right? You want to cut across. And eventually, we just had to say no. Sorry, we need to make sure everything's clear before we can say yes. And that was difficult. No usually is difficult, right? There's some people confused about why you would need to do that. There's people who um, take it personally. They feel like you said no to them, and
Yep.
really no, you say no to the request. And once things got ironed out, we were able to realize what was going on, realize the bridge was going to be easy to build, and we got started on with only a day of delay. Just, hey, we got to take a tactical
Mhm.
pause and discuss this. So that's my example. And it can be hard.
Oh yeah.
So something to think about. Uh, will will saying yes prevent me from focusing on something that's more important, right? And that's kind of
Mhm.
personal, right? Well, it doesn't have to be personal. At work, you could be working on something, um, and then when you're asked to take care of something that is important, maybe you're the only one in that conversation that realizes that you need to be working on something else, and then you have to explain that. My advice is to always explain why. If it's not personal in nature, we're talking business, explain why. Yeah, I agree. That's great. And honestly, half the time when it's me talking, it's, oh yeah, I would love to do that actually, but we need to finish X. We got to make sure Y is taken care of first. Or in the previous example, we need to make sure the requirements are mapped out. Otherwise, we might be building a bridge to the wrong city. Oh, we got some comments here.
Yeah. So Shaz was talking about you know, so he's commissioned and getting asked to do more time away from his family. So it's how do you deal? I mean, I've never worked commission, so how would you deal with that, Shaz? About you're doing more for the company, but at the same time, like you're getting paid more. Is there a work family balance that you have to just establish yourself, or is that something that I'm just that's curious on my part. Um, but
yeah, that's got to be extra difficult. I feel that I can relate. One point in my life, I was a courier,
mm,
and at the end of the day, I've made so many deliveries. I can estimate I've made so much money, and if I haven't quite made my bills that month, um, I might be out in the middle of the city at 9 o'clock at night in the car, going, "I don't think I should go home yet. Let me know if you have another whatever for me."
yeah,
So I remember being extremely tired driving home close to midnight from a ride up to, oh, come on, Anthony, somewhere in Kansas City, all flat ground. Not Kansas City, I was like, somewhere in Kansas.
yeah, yeah,
I crossed into Kansas. I drove all the way out to a hospital that's not on this side of Kansas, a veterans hospital. It's slowly coming back. And then I had to ride all the way back, but that was gonna make my month. So yeah, I can get the difficulty there. I got to take care of my family. I feel like I want to say no, but
hmm
unfortunately, money's a consideration, right?
yeah.
Um,
I think that could be you know a a week in general that we have a topic of just balancing family life and business life because we all know that the more or the harder we work and the more we work, especially in IT, the more likely you are to get ahead. Or like Shaz with commission, the more you work, obviously, the more you're going to get paid. We could probably have a whole week talking about how do we establish this much work takes away this much family time, and
Hmm.
how do we all balance that? But maybe that's another week, and look forward to that one.
that would be a
I'm
great topic.
I'm
Someone
very
jump on that one.
curious, and yeah, so I think that'd be a good
Actually,
week.
now that I'm thinking about it, now that we got some, definite activity in the chat, maybe some of these we can try to get the chat to, like with the questions episode that turned into two episodes.
Oh yeah,
Um, maybe we can get them to make comments ahead of time, make sure we cover some stuff. Yeah, loving the activity. Let's hear. I got Craftsman here saying, I say no all the time. It's rough. As a developer, I'm constantly having to explain to people that the API layer is not a place to put that application specific feature. Sometimes I can get overridden by the business, but it's a constant battle. Yeah, that's a strength. I understand that that's a skill you have to develop, right? Um, supposedly saying no gets easier over time. Craftsman, let me know if you think it does get easier over time. But yeah,
I think
it's
I think having the confidence to say no may get easier, but I think delivering it, I don't know. I think delivering it always is going to be you're delivering bad news to someone, so it's like even though it's the right thing to do, it's like
it's hard,
Yeah.
and it's definitely. I don't know if it really gets totally easier, but I would definitely say it's a learned skill. It's really hard at first, like you already said, O'Grady.
Yeah.
If you're early in your career and you got that imposter syndrome bubbling up, it can be hard to say no. Hey, can you do this thing? Can you take care of that? Do you know how to do this?
Mhm.
Yes. And
I will in a minute.
by the time the project's done, I will
Yep.
know how to do that.
Right.
Oh,
Or be
there's been
fired.
oh god, there's been so many times when people are like, "Hey, go do this." I'm like, "Google, what is this?"
Yeah. What do those words mean when they're in
When
that
in
order?
reality, like you're saying, I should be like at least question it. Maybe not say no, but I mean, at least
Yeah.
be like, I need something, like, and not try
Right.
to be overly nice and be like, no, I got that. Look up
Well,
what
in
the
that
wrong
in that
thing.
So,
specific, go on, please.
well, I was thinking about a previous location where I sometimes had to say no to things that people wanted to deploy to a SQL server,
Why?
and then just how database administrators in general, I think, can have the stereotypical um, feel about them that they just say no to everything all the time.
Some
Which,
some get that reputation, I feel like. And
yeah,
then
What
I
does
think
DBA
once
stand
you
for again?
get that reputation, or once someone gets a DBA with that reputation, they feel that about other DBAs, if that makes sense.
yeah,
So once they
sure,
get someone who's done that, they're like, that's how DBAs are. It's like,
yeah. He's always saying no. He's always the roadblock. That
yeah,
that DBA is always in our way of progress. And that's the other thing that drives me to not say no as a DBA, because I don't want to be thought of as the DBA who's always the roadblock,
You
the
want
person who's
especially
in the
since
way.
that's a kind of stereotype that's out there about DBAs already. You don't want to
Yes,
try to further
exactly.
that stereotype, but
So I want to try to find a way to say yes whenever possible, but when people who don't have a lot of experience, and by not a lot I mean like less than a year, for example, want to be able to make changes in a database, I kind of got to say no to that, or really say, you have to prove to me why.
yeah,
Um, why do you specifically need that? Is there someone else on the team that can do it? And that's also makes conversations get hard, because
yep,
now you're risking personal offense. You're like, well, what about me that is making you say no? But you'll
hmm
let that person do it, or that sort of thing. So that can be a problem, because you want to be seen like a team player.
hmm
You want other people to like you, all of those things. And so that plays into it being hard to say no sometimes, I think.
no, I agree,
Yeah,
100%.
I think there's like a contrast between both of your roles, right? And you guys tell me if I'm close or I'm off base, but basically the software engineer is building something and when they're deploying it, it's like it's launched and it's going, right?
hmm
And it uses the resources it uses, it does the things it does, and it's rated, and the engineer's skill is determined based off of, as I joked earlier, how fast it is, how long it's up,
Yeah,
and is it pulling in that money, which is the goal, right? You make the company
yeah,
money, they break
Right.
you off a piece. Whereas as the DBA, you do a little bit of that, but I feel like they're the core of the DBA is to be a steward, is to be the caretaker
the guardian
of
of the
these
data.
the
Yeah.
guard. Yeah, yes, like
hmm
Gandalf the White,
Yeah.
standing there. You shall not pass, and then, well, you just wanted to deploy, but you can't, and you don't realize it's because
Yeah.
danger will Robinson. There might be some danger in there, and the danger may not be obvious. Like I feel like, especially when I had the role of a software developer, you know, you're kind of thinking about what needs to happen, the verbs involved, what it needs to do, and you don't
Yeah.
realize that that's one of 1,000 activities that are happening on a
Oh, yeah.
machine. They interact. We can just kind of stand up other web servers, right? Oh, we need another web app. Here's another web server. There's another one. Meanwhile, in the dark dungeons of DBAdom, hope that's an okay analogy, Lee. You have your 7
Thanks, Eric.
databases, and when you ask for one more, they're like, "Oh, I don't know. Why can't you just put another database in that machine?" And you're like, "Well, you have your 7. You have to protect them." And there's gonna be
Yeah.
100 web apps attaching to 2 of those instances, and
Yeah.
someone's got to stand up and defend, right? Was it
Yeah.
close?
No, I
Was that pretty good?
100% agree. And I can tell you that while we're developing, a lot of times we're not thinking about how it's impacting the rest of the company at the time. Like, that's a card we'll have eventually. Like, how is this going to interfere with everything? But I feel like a lot of our job is, yeah, get the main product out there, get it built, build the core, put some meat on it, make it a full-fledged application.
I'd argue
Not,
you can't.
yeah, not always like, hey, make sure that the calls are super streamlined or not going to bog down the database. Like, that's stuff that we think about, but not as a top priority. And I can tell you that, yeah, that's not obviously the right way to go about it, but
Yeah.
pressure from the top
There's
always
definitely
pushes down.
queries. There's definitely queries that are fast, but they're bad.
Oh yeah.
And on production, you'll finally notice when someone's doing it a bunch of times. So you may not even know
Yep.
unless you're doing that research.
I think company culture can make it hard to say no too. The developers are pressed to, for example, you have a 1 week sprint or a 2 week sprint. I'm just making stuff up. Generally, that's the case, 1 or
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah, we're currently on a
Um,
2-week cadence.
and it's your responsibility as the team, whoever makes that up, to produce something that works, that meets the requirements in those 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So you don't want to always be the person to be saying, "Oh, I'm not sure we should do it that way because blah blah blah."
Yeah. Because then you might turn
And
into that person who always they look at as that person. Yeah. Even though
yeah,
if it's completely valid points, if you bring up something negative more than 1-2 times in a row, you're now that person. You're like,
yeah, and I think what Craftsman talked about here in the chat can help, where you turn saying no into a learning opportunity. And I think if people can walk away understanding more about the product, which in my case would be SQL Server, and why they shouldn't do the thing that they're doing, then they're more open to it. They're more open to hearing no, I should say.
yeah.
Um, but at some point, like, there could be excessive pressure from outside the team, and above
Yeah.
the team saying, I know that Gandalf is there saying, "You shall not pass," but I told Gandalf to let you do it because I want this.
Yeah.
See, now you put me in a very uncomfortable position because I want to relate this to Oh, I can't say his name. Sauron? Is that right?
The
But I can't.
from Lord of the
Lord of
Rings?
the Rings. Yeah, the big bad guy. Is he named
Sauron.
Sauron? Yeah, but now I can't. Now if I do that, if I make the obvious pun, I'm calling management evil eyes with dark magic,
You can't do
and I'm gonna
that.
be in trouble.
You
So
can't
now
do
I
that
have to.
unless they're at least a VP.
Okay, VP or higher, evil dark overlords.
I feel
Okay,
like that's fair.
please don't fire me.
It's fair. Like,
Okay,
not even in a mean way, but like, come on,
so
it's
okay,
fair.
well then what's then if we're gonna do Lord of the Rings analogies, what's middle management? Someone in chat tell us.
That's Gandalf the
Okay.
Yeah.
Gray,
Yeah.
No, that's the oh.
not the White, the Gray. That's
Gotcha.
middle management.
Okay.
Management is Gandalf the White because he transitioned from Gray to.
Okay.
We can go all night on Lord of the Rings. Okay, don't.
Love it. But yeah, I
Maybe
definitely
we'll do a
agree.
watch party one time in the Discord and have everybody.
Let's do
I don't know
all
if
of
you
them
guys have
12
ever
hours
done
long.
the quick story on my deployment in Afghanistan on New Year's Eve of 2009. I watched all Lord of the Rings in a row. That was my New Year's Eve.
Wow.
Wow.
It was like, yeah, I think it was like 16 hours. So
It's a
yeah,
lot.
a little bit
I've
about Brady's background.
Yeah. So I had another idea about that, and yeah, I know we're off the rails. But I've always
When aren't we?
I
That was like a really good stretch, to be fair. Like that was like the
yeah.
longest we've gone talking
You
actually
did
on topic. So we're
you
doing
did
good.
pretty good.
We're good.
But now we're talking about watching one thing back to back. I've always wanted to watch this. Anybody remember the show 24?
Yeah,
Yes.
where it counted down like by the second or the minute, I think it
Yeah.
was per episode.
All but if I remember correctly, and tell me if I'm wrong, all the episodes were back to back. Like it's 24 episodes because it's 24 hours in a day, right?
I think it
And I
went
always thought,
down like 24, 23, 22. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think
So
so.
I'm like I would love. I mean, it would be 24 hours long, so it'd be such a difficult thing to do in my current age. But like
Yeah.
just to start that and be like, you're living his day, the main character's day,
Oh, because it would be actually on the hour.
because it's supposed to be real. The show's supposed to be real time.
Okay.
So you
Yeah,
just
yeah.
watch that straight through. You're living through the person's day. But I mean, I know I hear it was good. I never watched it, so I would hate to be like 6 hours in and be like,
You're like, this is terrible.
I freed up my weekend for this. I shaved for this. That would be upsetting. Um. Anyway, I guess
That
back
would
on
be
track.
interesting, though. That would be.
Yeah,
I,
I
if you
I
do,
wanted
take
to do
notes
that.
because I want to hear how it goes.
I would. I'd tell you all about it. I'd tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. Um, I agree with what Craftsman said and with what Lee brought up in his comment before we went off the deep end. Um, make it a teaching moment, right? Like explain, let them understand the whys, and maybe in the future they can, at least see it coming. Worst case scenario, just be prepared for you to say no. Best case scenario, understand why you're saying no, and maybe change what they want to do to match.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna pull out a very DBA thing here. Hey, we need goods on here. We're gonna make a table. It's gonna have goods, and then we make it the. You say no. See already.
You don't want to.
DBA. Don't
It's
bother
funny
asking
you
me.
brought up that example. Keep going.
Okay, so the
Keep going.
because
I'll find something else I hate.
no. But knowing, but no, but if it's just if hypothetical, I'm we're not gonna pick on Lee, we'll pick on a different DBA. DBA Bree says no,
Eel.
goods are of the devil, and then they slam their office door and you move on. If that's all the interaction you get, you're gonna be like, well, what's wrong with this person? But if you educate them and you say, hey, you're trying to make this GUID the primary key on this, and then you can show them articles and you can show them information of what kind of what it does to paging and things being fragmented and everything else. There's reasons why. Maybe you come up to them and say, okay, yeah, let's do a surrogate key. I just need to GUID in there somewhere because the application that's the language it speaks, right? You can come to them with something that doesn't mess up what they're trying to protect, right?
Oh yeah, I
And
mean,
then
just like if as a dev, if I came to a DBA and said, "Hey, I need this," and the DBA is like, "Yeah, you're wrong," I'm telling you, as someone who would do that, I'd be like, "Okay, do you have a better idea? Like, can you help me?" Like, because how many times have I done that? I'm like, what would be a good idea to do here? And then you're like, well, we could do this instead. I'm like, thank you. That makes so much more sense because this is your world. Like, once I cross that line into data as a developer, that's kind of out of my realm. Or for most companies, that's out of the realm.
Yeah.
So once I get past that,
Yeah.
I look at it as, anything that I would have someone do for me. Let's say I'm getting my basement done, which I am. All the guys down there, I tell them, I'm not going to tell you how to drywall this. That's your job. Like I understand you are much better at doing this than I am. If
Right.
you come to me, like they came to me with the question about the tile they're putting in, I'm like, you're a tile expert. You can make this decision. I trust you. So when I come to a DBA, I say, hey, if they say it's wrong, I trust you on that. So saying no for you may be difficult because you feel like you'd be letting me down. When in reality, I'm almost expecting a no. And it doesn't hurt the developer as much, I guess, to hear a no if you have that alternate solution like Craftsman's talking about. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes the person getting the no is receptive. You know, it may be hard for you to say no, but then when you do, you find out they're like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of times after I say no to something, or I say, I don't really know that that's a great idea, I will follow that up with, what are we trying to achieve here? Like, what is your ultimate goal by asking me to do X?
Yeah.
And
I
then
think I've heard you
they
say that
explain
to
it.
me. What are you trying to achieve here? Like, I don't even
Yeah.
know that much, but
I got no requirements. I'm just building
they
something.
said to talk to you and make a
I
database. I
just,
don't know.
I just still want to work here next week, and my boss wants this. That's my requirements.
Yeah.
Sorry. Got
Um,
it.
but I think that can be helpful if you have to say no or you don't like the idea, it just makes you cringe, like,
Mhm.
GUIDs as a primary key. Please don't do that. Anyway, um, then if you explain, you ask them, so what are we doing? Like, why do you need the GUID? Why is that important? And then the developer, Jim Bob, says, oh, well, this GUID we get this from the application. So to tie this record back to something the application did, we need it in the database. And I would say, okay, we can put it in the database, but how about we not make it the clustering mechanism for the table, because that would suck, because it won't be sequential.
Yeah.
I'll give you a different clustering key, and then we can index the GUID if we need to, or just have it there, but let's not like do something important with it, like order the table by it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then everybody's
Order
happy,
table by
usually.
GUID. That's order by GUID. I'm gonna try that one actually next time I see a GUID in a table just to see what happens. It's gonna be like
Okay, you want to
nothing. It's the
try
most random.
you want to try it? Get yourself a database that you can actually have some activity on dev, of course. Don't not on
On
prod.
prod. Yeah, on
Step away
prod.
from prod, and then have some decent amount of activity. Then make yourself a 100 gigabyte table or more, a large table,
Yeah.
and then cluster it on the GUID. Now take your favorite application you do for load testing, SQL Stress or something like that, or write your own in Python or C Sharp, whatever you like, and then start making updates to those rows. And watch what happens. The machine will start sweating like a fat man on a treadmill.
Really?
It can because what happens is you have 100 gigabytes of pages of data, and let me
Yeah.
jump in if I do anything that's a little off if you want to correct anything. But you have 100 gigabytes of data, and it's on disk. And when SQL Server uses those, it puts it in memory. But
Okay.
if you have less than that much gigabytes of RAM, it's constantly picking up one, putting it up there, picking up one, putting it up there. And GUIDs are random, at least
Yep.
seemingly random.
Well,
So it's there's no way for SQL Server to know what to keep in memory because it has no idea what GUID you can throw at it next. If you have it in order, then
hmm.
then you at least can have the hotspot exist on, let's hypothetically say, recent.
Yeah.
So those pages that are recent can be in RAM, and the old ones can be on your Rust, right?
Oh man.
So
Yep.
yeah, that's how you get to see that in action, and you can see everything flying in and out of your RAM, and all your other queries all of a sudden just crash because
Oh,
you're used to
sure.
them always. You're used to all of them being in RAM, and now you're getting them off a disk. So
Yep. And
sorry, Craftsman. I'm sorry.
And now
you
you
can
know.
and you can look at page splits. So there are ways to track page splits, and you would see a ton of page splits in the experiment that Anthony's offering up.
Yeah, I didn't even. Yeah,
Um,
I didn't bring that up. Yeah, you're right.
there are sequential GUIDs. We're kind of off topic, but we like this. I'm going to keep going with this. So there is a new thing, a newish thing, where you can have
That came
sequential
out within the
GUIDs.
last 10 years. It's
Yeah,
Microsoft new.
where you can do sequential GUIDs, but it's not that much better. So I just don't use that to order the table by at all, the GUID or the sequential GUID, for some of the reasons that Anthony's talking about. But anyway,
Hmm.
saying no. Just say no to goods.
Still, people will approach you on the streets about it, and your first GUID's free. It's just don't.
It's free.
That's right.
Uh,
And then you get hooked and you don't know any better
Yeah, you're
until
like, that's just
someone
how it
tells you
is.
no.
and
And
then
you have a
all your
GUID
relationships fall
intervention.
apart.
Oh yeah.
You know it's a problem because all your relationships fall apart. You're like, I used to have DBA friends, and now none of them talk to me. They don't
Yep.
answer my
That's right.
calls. They see me in public. They pretend like they don't see me, and they go hide in the nearest store.
You're like, I tried
Yeah.
to give someone my number and it was just random. It was like weird.
Yeah. They see me coming and I see them close the blinds. They twist the little cord and the blinds go shut. And I know that they don't want to talk to me.
So,
Fair. Chat's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Any of us.
yeah, we lost them.
Anyway.
They're
Back
Okay,
to
so-
topic-ish.
back to topic. So sometimes you're trying to decide whether or not to say yes or no. Sometimes it's obvious. We just found an obvious one that we can see DBA's railing against. I wouldn't mind if you get one O'Grady. If you have like an obvious no, kind of like what we just talked about, the technical one, holler. But when you're trying to decide, you could say, does this potential project, opportunity, activity, whatever, align with my values, beliefs, and goals? So sometimes,
Yeah.
I guess this isn't as much work related, but although I can spin it as work related, but does it align with what you would do anyway? If yes, then maybe you do spend some more time thinking about it, right?
Mhm.
But if no, then maybe that's yet another reason why, I have reasons why I don't want to do this, and also it just doesn't align with what I want to do, right? It's kind of like the work related. Hey, you want to be a manager on this team, and you're like, no, that's not director anymore. If I go that way, I'm locked in, right? I got asked to be a product manager, product owner, I guess I should say. No, I'm definitely
Yep.
a nerd. I want to build, and I'm not going to go that way. So, thanks for your thoughts.
Yeah, so
Um,
hard nose for me, you're asking, is well, and this was recent development that I've finally achieved, I feel like. But anything that's not vetted by the product owner. That's as a developer, that's everything that's not vetted and told to me by the product owner, that's a no.
oh, like what do you mean? Like, well, where's these requests coming from if they're
Like
not
side
vetted?
requests.
Yeah, like side requests or hey, can you go pull this data from here? Uh, or can you put an endpoint in your API real fast? And I'm like, nope. Go talk to my product owner. And it's really nice being in a situation where you have that protection, that boundary, because it makes no like it's like a common sense thing now because everybody knows if you go talk to a dev directly, you're gonna get a no because you have to go through the proper chains. So I've really
it's
been
all
enjoying that.
so O'Grady. It's only going to take like half an hour at the most. You even said it's going to be a quick thing. Why
Yep.
can't you just knock this out for me real quick?
I say,
It'll
hell
really
yeah, it only
help
takes
with.
half an hour. Go talk to my product owner. Tell him it's
Yeah.
only half an hour. We'll make a quick card on it. I'll get it over here. I'll get it done and get it out to you. Probably be done today.
Yeah.
But if he vets it and he says it's cool, yeah, let's get it done.
100%.
Because I don't say it in a
100%.
negative way. I'm like, hell yeah, like that sounds like a good idea. But that's a no for me. Go talk to him. Might be a yes.
Yeah.
But
So that gets me in trouble a lot. By in trouble, I mean it's something I struggle with. And this is something that Anthony and I talked about many times ad nauseum when we were on the same team, is handling all these random side things that come in. Oh, I just
Mhm.
need 5 minutes. Can you do this for me?
Yeah.
And for all the reasons we've talked about, it's hard to say no to folks when you want to help them. They're stuck, they're at a roadblock, and they're coming to you as the DBA or as the software engineer, whatever the example is. They need
Yeah.
your help. They're stuck, and but then when that happens, 3 or 4 times a day,
Yeah.
and that happens 3 to 4 days a week, then you're getting stuff done and you're helping other people move their stuff, but you're not getting any of your own stuff done that you know you need to work on.
Yeah.
And so that can create a difficult uh, sense of tension. At least it does for me.
Yeah.
And I can always like, now I suppose I could defer like you do. Hey, you got to talk to the product owner. I'm happy to help you, Mr. or Mrs. Person with this
Mhm.
request, but you got to talk to the PO first. I can, if I need help prioritizing, I could probably say to this person, I'd love to help you, but I'm actually doing this thing right now. And if you need that done, then you need to talk to my boss to find out
Yeah.
what the priorities are. Because as far as I know, I need to be doing this right now.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it
Uh,
too is we seem to take, or we seem to think that every interaction at work is going to be like a personal interaction. Whereas a lot of times, if I go up to someone, they say, I can't do that, or I'm not going to do that. It's not in my time frame. Whatever they say, however they present their no. I feel like I don't ever. It's taken a lot. It's taking less personally, less of the time, if that makes sense. So like most of the time, I look at it as a professional. They can't fit that in their time frame right now. I look at my own
yeah,
time frames I have, and I'm like, that makes sense. Like we're obviously most of us are under crunches. Like if I'm under a crunch, I'm gonna assume that Lee's also under a crunch.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah, we're
we,
not.
yeah, I don't think so.
No, that doesn't.
I
Our
feel like
industry does
that's
not give us that kind of leeway.
what I like is that it's one of the it's one of the most complained about things being in the IT is that there's so much pressure and it's always under a crunch and we're always kind of on call. But it's also like one of the best things I love about being in IT is that there's always like pressure that makes me get better. And it's hard to find
Yeah,
that in every industry, you
I,
know.
I feel like there's a lot of people like that in our industry. I think
Mhm.
it's a little bit of survivor bias, right? Like you don't make it very far if
Yeah.
that pressure is going to crack you right away. It's kind of like I've had a few many conversations with people when they're just starting out in our industry, and one of the things I tell them, there's the pressure. There's also you have to be okay with not understanding what's going on.
Yes.
There's this whole
100%.
like the best front end dev that has probably looked up something to do with JavaScript and dates this time sometime this last week, right? It's happened, okay? I
Not
think
lying.
I still yeah. I mean, we're all on Stack Overflow. If you
Yeah.
are uncomfortable,
yeah, we are.
yeah, if you are uncomfortable with um getting working on a problem and just getting absolutely stuck
Mhm.
and like questioning whether or not you know what the heck you're talking about. Um, if you're not comfortable with that, this is probably the wrong industry for you because that'll happen
Yeah.
over and over and over again, or else you're just not doing anything.
Yeah.
Now, the right
Yeah.
people will when they
Or you'll
fix
get an
that.
entry level and stay entry level, which is
Yeah.
fine, but
Yeah,
yeah.
This reminds me, Anthony, how many times have I said to you, I just want to go be a dishwasher?
if I had $1 for every one,
Feel
I'd
like
buy
I'm
you
done.
a restaurant so you can wash the dishes.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot for sure.
Yeah. And it's okay. Like we're digressing, I guess, but this leads me to another thought. Like it's okay to look stuff up. Nobody has everything in their head, and that's why Stack Overflow is there and other
Yeah.
places like it because no one knows everything. You got to get some help sometimes. Nobody, we have huge books.
I thought he fainted.
That's the wrong side. We have huge books on things. I mean, there's lots of pages in here. There's no way I can. This is all going to go in my head.
No.
No.
Did you guys know that if you have a Visual Studio key, make sure I'm covering the address here, You can get free code books every month.
Is that Kafka on the cover?
Yeah, it is
Ah, okay.
Kafka. But you get a code magazine every, I think it's once a
One
month,
day. One
just for
day.
having a license with Visual Studio. So stuff like that. Like the resources are endless, but yeah, you definitely
Yeah.
don't need to know everything. Oh, I was gonna bring up when you were talking about when you first said you don't have to know everything. In a meeting today, we do mobbing. So, or we are currently doing mobbing. So there's 5 of us all in one group. One person's driving, one person's navigating, the whole thing.
Yeah.
But today, while we were doing that, I said to the most senior person on the team, I said,
Oh,
"I'm
I
sorry,
can't
I'm
wait for
asking."
this.
Well, I just said, "I'm sorry, I'm asking so many questions." Because I'm asking about everything because I mean you guys know me. I'm like I want to know what the hell this is. So I'm asking.
Yeah.
At the time, I can even realize like when you realize you're asking too many questions, you're probably
Hmm.
past the point of asking too many questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm at that point. I'm like, look, I'm sorry I'm asking so many questions, but I would rather be annoying than not know than not know what's going on. And that's I feel like when I said that I was like, oh cool. Like I feel like I'm getting to the right place that I feel
You're like,
comfortable enough. Yeah,
hold on,
like
let
I
me
was
write this
taking
down.
down my own notes. I was like, I was like, yeah, no, I'm like, but that's right. That's how it should be. Like, don't be afraid of being annoying because the person that asks the most questions, if they're coming in, they're probably going to be your boss one day. Like, that's the person that's going to get ahead. The one that's asking because they don't know what's going on. They're okay admitting, I don't know what's going on. Tell me everything. Well, they just get a brain dump from everybody around them when there might be 3 other people that haven't been asking questions and they still don't know what's going on. You know?
Yeah.
So something I was thinking about today, but I, that's funny. That related very well.
So I found this link about ways to politely say no. I don't know if we're interested in going down that road,
No,
but
yeah, nine.
okay.
Let's do it.
He just
No,
said
Go.
no. That
those
was
were
awesome.
different ways of saying no. I thought we were.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Nice.
They're all
Yet.
polite.
Yet. No.
No, yeah, 9.
Yeah, when we
Nice.
discussed the
Oh,
topic, we of course did that joke when we discussed this topic when me and Leah chatting about which one should be next, and he's like, well, you wanted to do say no. You want to just jump on that,
no.
and I was like, no. I mean, how do you resist? It's like
It's like
setup.
okay.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's a
No.
softball pitch.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Let's talk about that. You can just say no nicely. Just be as polite as possible, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a pretty
And take
obvious
in
one.
mind that being polite as possible is not just saying no. That's the
Maybe
least
add some
way.
words in
That's the
there.
least polite of just being like no,
Yeah.
because
I
then
mean,
they're
the first thing
probably
on
be
this
like
link is like he just says, I'm honored, but I can't.
something like
I'm
that.
glad
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
thought of me to be able to help you with this problem, O'Grady. But right now, I'm stuck with this thing I have to fix.
Hmm.
Can we talk about it in 2 hours, or can we talk about it tomorrow morning?
See, I think that's important too. Not just saying we'll talk about this later or another time is, hey, can we talk about this and look at your phone or your computer that you're at? Let's schedule you in. Hey, I got 15 minutes right here that I'm not doing anything. You want to come chat? Because then that gives the person that you're talking to reassurance that you cared, that you're taking it into, like, you just don't have the time. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
if it's
So,
something that is a viable solution and it's because of time. Now, if it's something that obviously shouldn't be done, that's different.
so
Yeah.
well, we can take that and we can, rephrase a little bit to say offer an alternative, basically, right?
Mhm.
If they're saying X and you can, instead of you just saying, oh, no, I can't, you can say, well, I can't do that exactly, but, maybe later, maybe tomorrow, maybe,
Yeah.
alternatives are nice.
Yeah. Do you have the link open, Anthony?
No, I
If
can
you
open
don't,
it though.
it's okay. Well, so I want to get your take on number two. He said the article just says, "I wish there were two of me."
I've
That's a
heard that a lot.
response of saying that's a way to say no.
Oh,
That
as
kind of
in, I wish
strikes
there.
me a
I would
certain
love to
way.
do it. Wish there was two of me. I got you.
What do you guys think about that? Do you
I mean,
like it? Do you hate it? Is it
I
cringy?
don't want to. I don't want to say I hate it,
I
but
feel like
like,
it might sound disrespectful if said to the wrong person. If that makes sense. Like
Uh,
it's like a almost like a jokingly manner, obviously. But if the problem they're coming to you with is not like they may already not be in the best of mood to be dealing with a joking manner, I feel like a
mhm.
more honestly, I think an honest answer of saying, "Dude, I would love to do that," or is this? We're gonna assume that this is something that should be done. You just don't have time at this point, or for the
Sure.
scenario. Okay, so for this scenario, but I would say something like, "Yeah, I would love to do that," but I here's my backlog. Like, I have 12 things I have to get done today. And then even on a connect to them on a human level, being like, I understand you're super busy as well, so you get it. And then be like, hey,
Yeah.
we can schedule a meeting for tomorrow. Will that work?
Yeah.
So
What do you think,
yeah,
Anthony?
I think there's a lot of context missing there. I
yeah,
feel like I do say
it's
this a lot.
situational. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like I say this a lot in situations where I'm talking to somebody about something that we want to do. So, like, let's
Hmm.
say me and Lee are working together at a company on a project or at a company, and we want to upgrade a server or some servers up to 2022, single server 2022 any day now. Um, but we're working on this other stuff. Well, I wish there's two of me. I jump on it. I feel like that works
Yeah.
because we both want to, and whatever. But I feel like in a professional conversation, if you're saying no because of time, obviously if you're not saying no because of time, this is nonsensical. But if you say no because of time, I feel like there's more professional ways to say it. So
Yeah.
if this is a professional conversation with your boss or someone up in the hierarchy or one of the many product owners or product managers that you deal with, um, this isn't a really good one because it's a low key way of saying this isn't important to me.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
where I feel it may be interpreted as by some people of you're kind
Right.
of joking around about it. It's not as important. If there was two, you'd do it, but if there's one, you're not going to. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
And right.
okay,
But when it's a personal conversation,
yeah,
well, like me and Lee are talking about wanting to play around with a new feature. Most recent one was like polybase, but let's imagine this another cool whiz bang thing was coming out in 2022, and we really want to play with it, right?
yeah,
He knows that I'm like, oh, I would love to, but I can't. I wish there's two of me. He'd understand that.
hmm
But if you're talking professionally to somebody, I don't
Right.
like that particular response.
I
and
don't like it
again,
because of the victim thing. Sorry,
hey,
O'Grady.
fun,
So the first thing that came to mind when I read that was that you're portraying yourself as a victim of
that's true.
you're not in control of what's happening to you because too many people are giving you stuff to do.
Yeah, I could say
And
that.
Even
that
though that's probably true.
even though well to some degree yes, but like we talked about earlier, and I love Sean Grady's example where he's got somebody's coming to a Grady. He's like, "Oh, I need you to fix this. Like, it's just 10 minutes."
Hmm.
You know, he could say, "Oh man, I wish there were two of me." And as you over and over, you're the victim of your circumstance.
That's true.
Whereas you say to the person, "Love to help you. Go talk to the product owner and get it prioritized, and we'll work on it." Those are two
Yeah, agreed.
completely different things. So that's why I was
Yeah,
kind
I
of
agree.
cringy about I wish there were two of me. Like
No, I
not a
agree.
great response.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I
Agreed.
mean, yeah, my example is obviously using previous work experience, but yeah, right now that's I like the way that we're able to operate, and I think it should be fairly easy to get most IT departments to operate that way. Um, of having the person that controls your workflow, and like you have to kind of discuss it with them. Like, I'm doing everything I can for the company. That's why I work here, but you have to talk to the person that controls the things I do. Like, it's kind of nice
yeah.
being able to hand that power off. Like,
Yeah.
they make the choices. I'll work on whatever they say. If it's 10 minutes, awesome. Let's knock it
My
out.
thought, my thought when he said that was, I'm here. I'm here to to take care of the company, to work to give them value, but I'm not here to take care of everybody at the company and give
Exactly.
everyone value at the same time.
Exactly.
You are a resource that needs to be aimed. Sorry to like mundane that,
No,
but
that's. I mean, yeah, that's what it is. It's yeah. I mean, as far as the company is concerned, whether they're a great company or not, you are an asset of that company. So the company has certain people allowed to say, "Hey, my assets are going to do this." Well, if you're not one of the people that say what this asset does for this company, you got to talk to one of the ones that are.
Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, I like the other responses after that. They're all different
Mhm.
variations of saying I'm too busy to do this for you right now.
Yeah. So I think we should talk about, like we've been talking about, if you're too busy, or if we haven't if they want something quick, whatever. So maybe we should talk about what happens if someone brings you a solution, or whatever you want to call it, that isn't proper, that goes against your company ethics. How do you say no to that properly, or your, I guess, your company alignment?
Hmm.
Yeah. So how would you go about being like, this is a bad idea? It's not just a no for now; it's a no forever. Like, how do you present that in a light manner? Uh,
I have some
so
thoughts,
I
but
guess, yeah.
Anthony, go
I would
ahead.
like to hear both of you how you would spin that.
so I've had that recently a couple times, and one of my go-tos is, you know, if they're saying do X because
Mm-hmm.
Y is too hard or whatever the reason why they don't want Y, but they'll do X. A lot of times they'd say, I'd rather be called to, you know, somebody's office for Y than be called to someone's office for X. I don't want to have to explain why I
Oh,
said
yeah.
this was okay. And that's the kind of rationale I use. I go, I know there's risk with Y. I know there's troubles or expense or whatever my reason, our reason. I'm gonna say R because both of us don't like Y. But if X is improper, if the one thing they're asking me to do is improper, I'd say I'd rather be called to someone's office. Why'd you do Y? Oh well, that said Y too many times there.
Yeah.
Why did you do this? Than being asked why did I do the improper thing? And that's usually my
Yeah.
rationale. That's
And
I go
usually
to
it would
that a lot.
be, you get called in because they'd say, "Why does this take so long?" And you say, "Because I did this." And then they'd say, "Why did you do it that way instead of this way?" And
And
I mean, yeah, I will 100% always stand with, if you think that it should be done a proper way and someone's trying to skirt it, that do your best to try to take the proper route. So,
yeah, the recent example was I had two options of where to get a set data, and the two options were very close to being the same. One was going to be a lot easier. One other one was going to be quite a bit harder. One of the situations that I tend to rail against. It's too hard. You can't just do that. I get that a lot.
yeah.
And I said I'd rather go the route. Well, the difference between the data is I trusted one of them, right? The other
Hmm.
one I didn't have as much trust. I'd rather be called to the CFO's office and explain why I took longer on this, why I spent so much time on this.
Hmm.
Then get called his office to explain why the data was wrong, even
Yeah.
though it's only wrong. It's only wrong every once in a while. When you find out it's wrong, it's a quick fix. No, I it's accounting. Other things, maybe it's okay.
That's
you know,
true, yeah.
hey, updating someone's middle name takes an hour instead of instantly. I can explain that away. That that
Yeah.
makes sense. I'm not giving the accounting wrong information. I never want to be in the
Yeah.
office about that.
No,
Why just
that's
take
true.
2 extra weeks? I'm
Yeah.
willing to be in someone's office explain that.
Yeah, this store procedure is going to take you how long to rewrite? It's an accounting store procedure. I'm probably going to double my time
Yeah,
because
make
it's
sure it's
going to
right.
be 100% right.
Lee, what was yours?
So I thought of two things. I thought of, or two categories where this is relevant or where I've had to have these kind of conversations. And one of them is security and one of them is performance. The security one usually comes in one of two ways. Someone is asking for access that I think is dangerous,
Okay.
or someone already has access and I think they shouldn't,
Okay. Yeah.
because maybe a whole bunch of people have, let's just say, sysadmin access, and I have been there. I'm going to caveat this with something from a blog post I wrote at leemarkham.com. One of the things that you focus on
Was
is,
that a quick like little shout out there?
yes,
Because
it was.
I'll
That was
get
a
to watch
great
this.
plug. That was a great
Um,
plug.
Boom. Sorry, go
for
ahead.
I talk about 4 areas to focus on when you're in a new DBA role, and one of them is security. But I say do that last because it's a super touchy, super political topic, and you need to be there and establish trust before you even start talking about security and
Yes.
taking people's permissions away to try to make things more secure. And I approach that with, look, I'm sure this person knows what they're doing, but there are 15 people in this group. All of them have this access, and
Mm-hmm.
that's 15 more Windows accounts that could be used to attack the database.
Yep.
So, whatever this group needs, let's either give it to an existing group and remove that group,
Yep.
or find like one or two people in the existing group that get to keep the permission and remove everyone else. Because I'm trying to, like we talked about earlier, be that
5.
guardian,
Oh, sorry.
be that steward
I was the guy
of
that
the data. Yes, we're gonna high five. Um, and so then the other thing is just performance. For example, back to the GUID thing, and I know why this came up. Um, I said no to GUIDs at a previous workplace because of all the things we talked about before. I'm like, this is just a bad idea. If we let this into production, you're going to be calling my desks when we all worked at
Yeah.
offices. You're going to be calling my desk phone because it's slow, and you're going to ask me to fix it, and I'm not going to be able to fix it because you just shouldn't have done that.
The
There's no
fix
magic wand.
and the fix is going to be either an outage or after hours, because
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
the point that a GUID is a problem isn't out of a 200 record table, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a problem when you have, like early
Yeah.
in the scenario, it's 100 gigabytes in size. So in order to change the indexing strategy on that, to move that cluster index to something else, it's going to lock things up for a little bit. It's going to take downtime, or instead of eating dinner with your family, you're now working on this because someone did want to listen to you during the engineering phase.
Yeah, exactly. And even if you have Enterprise Edition SQL Server, which is way more expensive than standard,
Mm-hmm.
and you can make that change online, or you can create an index online. Um, so you think, well, we're not going to block anything. There is still some blocking,
The
and then you
data
have transaction.
happening, I would say the data happening while you're doing this, if they're tables that get written to.
Yeah, I mean, SQL Server has to keep track of all of that,
Mm-hmm.
and it adds to the transaction log. And so when you do online index creation like that, if it's a 100 gig table, or in my cases where I'm at now, I mean, we're talking 500 gig table. It's got 800 million rows in it.
Yeah.
That's a lot of transaction log, and you have to like pay attention to that. Or you're going to chew up your drive space, and you're
Yeah.
going to cause an outage anyway. So there's lots of things, but those are the two things: security and performance. Where I've had to say no, and I explain why I'm saying no is because it presents an attack vector for the data, and in the performance category, it's a bad idea because you're going to be calling me when this is broken, and I won't have a quick fix, and the customer is going to be down because they can't do what they want to do because everything's slow.
Yep. Yep. Sorry, I think I just peaked the mic there. I was adjusting audio volume.
Yeah. So, one of my little notes I have is be crystal clear. So, like in your example, well, you had a couple there, but in any one of them, just saying no isn't okay. Saying no and then giving an excuse or kind of being wishy washy about it isn't going to work either. Be clear. Make sure they understand. One, you do mean no. It's not going to happen. Not maybe it can happen later. Um, and also why. So
Yeah, for sure.
And I don't
like
want these to be mistaken for times that you're asked to do things that are your job. So,
Right.
you know, don't take this out of context and be like, no. Like, no, that's like your job. Like, you have to do that. So remember that. And then also remember that sometimes jobs come with, like, you know, you brought up, stopping or not being with your family for dinner or whatever. Sometimes that is things that come with the job. And coming into
Mhm.
IT, you also need to remember that nighttime deploys are a thing. A lot of times there's someone on call that just after hours, if something happens, you're the one that gets the email. Coming into the IT world, remember that as well. Some things are not negotiable as much.
Right.
So if it's not negotiable, don't say no to it usually. Maybe try to.
well, get that ironed out when you get hired on. Like
Exactly.
different
Yeah.
companies have different policies. And there are the notable exceptions. When I got hired on the company I'm at now, it was like no weekends, not a
Mhm.
thing. And then my role changed a few times, and that kind of happened, right? Sometimes everyone needs to come in on a weekend because they're literally taking apart every machine and putting them up on the second story, right? And
Yep.
then putting them back together. Um,
Yep.
but usually pizza's involved, so
Yeah. So like stuff like that, I just wanted to bring that up and be like, make sure you remember that in the IT world, a weekend every now and then, a weeknight every couple weeks or a month is not uncommon. That's a very very common thing to happen. So
Yeah, it is.
and instead of saying no to that stuff, because there are people that don't do it. They're like, nope, I'm not coming in after work, and they usually are reflected as being that person that doesn't want to come in after work. But instead of saying no to that, use that as an opportunity to get to know your company, your employees better, or your peers, I guess, better. I feel like that's how I connected with YouTube more, was doing Weekend Project,
Hmm.
Weekend Project 1.0, and then Weekend
yeah,
Project 2.0.
yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so you can always flip it if it is something that you want to say no to, but it's not negotiable. You can always flip it to make it a positive still. See,
Feels like we're about wrapped up.
I think that was, what are we at,
Yeah.
8:15?
I can cover a few things while we look up someone
Yep.
to raid. So yeah, other little pieces of advice, unless it's something horrible or unsolicited, if it's within the realm of what you do for a living, or something that normally wouldn't be bad, extend genuine gratitude for the ask. If O'Grady comes to me and he's like, "Hey, I want to build this app and I want to work with you on it. You want to do some things," then be like, "Hell yeah, let's do it." but I have to say no, then make sure I'm saying you or I would make sure to say thanks for thinking of me, basically. Or if the manager has an idea, wants to wrap you in, hey, you have a way of talking to these people, these people, these people. You would make a great product owner, and you understand the technology. You want to do that. I really appreciate you thinking of me in that way, right? That's great. It's just not my cup of tea. That's not what I'm trying to go. Just show some gratitude, if it's warranted. That can kind of help dull the sharp blade of no.
Oh yeah.
Um, and if it and give another item is give a brief explanation. Explain why no. We kind of covered that a few times actually. But I will also say if you want to, because if we're not talking business, we're talking personal. You may have reasons to say no, and those reasons are personal. Then the other person to respect you enough to understand no. Especially if they're like, "Well, why?" You're like, "Reasons. I
Yeah.
just can't." Professional courtesy to your coworkers. Um, other points are offer another resource. If they're coming at you with something and you generally just can't do it, you gotta tell them no. You can say, "Hey, bud, have you met Ted?" Right?
Yep.
That might be able to get you. That person might have some time for you. I can definitely vouch for the services. And I hear they work for donuts, so show them a donut and might like you. Pizza's like gold. Pizza joke never gets old. And sometimes maybe is the right answer. Sometimes you can say, if it's not like what Lee was saying, security risk, right? Um, Maybe you're like, hey, maybe we could do this, and then explain why. Does it need to be put off? Do
Yeah.
you need to change the way it's done? Hey, we want this to be. I don't want to do the GUID thing again because where I'm going with that doesn't make sense. But we don't need to do it this way. But hey, maybe we can take care of what you need another way. Sometimes maybe is the answer. We got any good leads there,
Oh yeah, we're
Mr.
good.
O'Grady?
Yep,
Cool.
we're good. We're gonna go raid Cap Danielson. He is playing some Destiny 2. I don't know if you guys know Destiny just dropped a new DLC, Witch Queen. I have yet to get to play it yet because my
Busy
world,
being a Viking.
because I've been being a Viking.
Yeah.
I don't know if I started a Valheim server. For those who don't know, you can jump on and shoot me a DM in the Discord, and I'll send you the IP address. But it's actually sitting right back there. It's just a laptop I set up as a server running Valheim, and
Oh, that's fun.
so yeah, it was kind of cool doing the whole server setup. I like cleaned it all out and made it a clean. I don't know, like a little fancier than it used to be.
Yeah, it stays awake and doesn't the fact it
Yeah,
used to be a
yeah,
laptop doesn't climb it
exactly.
up.
Yeah, I put all that stuff
Cool.
on it, and then I put a couple scripts on it that restart the servers every day, and then it backs up the server every 10 minutes so that I can do a restore if needed, and only lose 10 minutes of data. It's
Love it.
I got bored on a Friday. But
Bored, never heard of it.
right. All right. So we're gonna go raid Cap here. Make sure that goes through. All right. Yeah. So yeah, Witch Queen came out. He's he's pretty awesome, and he's been playing it. So go check him out. Shoot him a follow. Shoot us a follow. Check us out on the Twitters and the Discord and everywhere that we are. And we will catch you guys next week.
See you later.
Bye, everybody.